for repairs to these lights that we're going to replace. So very quickly, just the repairs will far exceed the cost, and we would have to then replace the whole system where he did a whole another analysis, which I don't know that we need to get into, but what it would cost us if we had to replace the system.
$100,000 a year.
Yeah.
So.
Just I'll kind of go to the very high level of this. What I've got on the left side is a fairly good budget number, I believe, based on contracted rates with other municipalities throughout the state. The equivalency replacement capital cost if the community was to replace the entire lighting system with what we're proposing, looking at probably $1.8, $1.9 million to do that. And I think that our upfront number is going to be the $250,000 with potential for refund of the $50,000, so a net of $200,000. And so if you were to take the $1.84 million, subtract off the $200,000, let's net it at 1.5. Divide that out by and I estimated very conservatively on this. So I said $9,000 is the monthly cost for it, for our system. If you divide that out by the $1.5 million capital, you can see where, this is simple math I'm looking at, but you can see where that cross point happens. I didn't take into any consideration, and that cross, I believe it was about 11, 12 years. I didn't take into consideration if the community, no electricity. I didn't take that into consideration, a community owned. And over that 11-year period, I didn't take into consideration any maintenance. So I feel it's a fairly strong program that we offer.
It says 122 here, wasn't it 112?
120.
Under customer installed, 122.
Both of them say 122.
And
Number of poles.
New decorative black concrete poles, and yet I thought the other one, it said 112. 112. I mean,
That is a good catch.
Probably a typo.
Yes, that's a typo, I believe, on the 122.
It should be 112.
It should be 122.
Yes, I believe it should be 112.
All right.
Oh, 112.
I believe so.
Okay.
I think next, I think I went to the monthly. 112 is the correct.
Okay.
Those
Just want to make sure.
references, the 122 with references, weren't they?
No, that was a typo. The number breakdown was correct. That was a typo on my part.
Got it. We'll allow it.
So
Thank you.
It's going to take 11 years for us to pay for these poles.
Yeah, whatever the 9,000 divided by the $1.5 million.
And then, so what happens? Will that, one question, I guess I know the answer, but I got it. So that 8,600 a month, that will go up annually? Will go up with adjusted with rates?
Yeah, our rates obviously are filed and approved with the Public Service Commission. So that is
But that's the only thing that would adjust in that $8,600 is rates. So at the end of the 11th year, when the poles are paid for, does that 86 adjusted go down?
It doesn't. I would look at it from a standpoint of call it in perpetuity.
Okay, why?
We always own and maintain those assets.
Even though we pay for them?
Yes.
But you really didn't. We're only paying the cost is the 250 we're going to be putting down. It's just the installation.
No, I know that, but the 8,600 includes the purchase of the poles.
It costs their replacement.
Right, they're building a reserve to do it later, right?
It's how the regulated.
Yeah, you'll still be on the board.
What is their average repair time?
So we have experienced some challenges with our restoration. I will address that right up front. I can also say, so our standard repair, if you were to put in an outage ticket today, you'll see that it says 40 days. This is something that is being addressed within the organization. We do know that restoration needs to be looked at, and so we are constantly looking to improve on those timeframes.
And would that, the prioritization of a community with multiple outages, is there any prioritization?
It really is based on when the ticket is put in. There's a ticketing system that any citizen can put in. So it's not based on community, it's based on the service territory. So it is kind of worked in an order of
Is 40 days acceptable for the PUC?
it is within the Public Service Commission allowance, yes.
Is it acceptable to your customers?
As I mentioned, we are looking to always improve our service for our customers.
Because old people get really irritable when they can't see down the street.
Let me actually bring up one thing. You brought up a good point, is how these lights are fed compared to a traditional lighting circuit system. We do tie directly into our transformers, so it's not necessarily a complete linear circuit. So we take the shortest path that we can. So we've got multiple access points that we're pulling from. Traditionally, what you would see is an individual outage. Could be a fixture failure, could be one of the photocells. These are operating dusk to dawn photocells, same as the community. You rarely will see a transformer failure, which would take out anything that is on that transformer. But again, because it's not a linear circuit, there may be only a handful of lights. So still the same concern, but I wanted to kind of make sure that understand.
It's not like a string of
You're
Christmas
not,
lights.
you should not, that's a great reference. I like that. Thank you. You shouldn't lose.
Like Christmas lights for.
Yeah, there should be no scenario that you lose the boulevard.
Yeah, our current system is fed from most of it's separate transformers, because they're 480, 240, 480 volt transformers. And then there's a single photocell and breaker that then serves a long string of lights. The new system basically comes off, the majority of them come off the residential transformers. So if there's a transformer failure, people's lights are going to be out in their houses and they're going to call in too. But then each of the fixtures has its own photocell, so that if there's a photocell failure, it just takes out the single light, it doesn't take out the whole string.
That's correct.
And I know one other thing that I've been hearing a lot of lately is that the transformers that we've got right now are all rusted out and look horrendous. Will they be replaced with this project?
That does not fall under the LED lighting solutions. It would not, but I'd be more than happy to follow up with the district to put in touch with our power delivery group.
Yeah.
Run to failure.
Not till
And
it fails.
we had, they don't replace them until they're totally damaged or something. They came back with a note.
I've got a mall up there. I can-
Maybe we had extra paint from the monuments that we just painted.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. We could have a contest. Okay.
That I might not agree with that.
I think we're probably approaching the end here. This just was a breakdown, if anybody wanted to see where the $250,000 is derived from. So this is the cost.
Yeah, half of it's removals, so.
It is, it absolutely is, that's correct. So I don't think there's a need to go line item through this unless anyone has a question.
The one thing that I had thought of, question that we could probably deal with later, is these are some of the post top lights, like out by the front, are the same light fixtures and glass that is in town center, which is, that stuff is very hard to come by. We found out when we wanted to put another light at Pelican and Cypress Grove. So I don't know if there'd be any appetite for the community association to want to snag some of those as they're retired, or pay somebody to take them out and stash them somewhere in case they were to ever need them.
If that's something, as we take those out, if you would like them,
You're just gonna junk them, right? Probably.
yeah, we'll absolutely.
Adam's office, and everybody will be saying, what, good luck.
It'll be in that parking lot.
Yes.
Storage lot,
They're gonna do that. I hope they have a plan to use them.
something.
I'd just like to
At
say
least the- at least
thank you
the
very much. It was a
glass
very good
windows.
presentation, and I appreciate your time being here.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Construction timeline, do you have an update on that?
Yeah, I would be based on, well, I don't know what the overall consensus.
Based on approval today.
Okay. And once it is reviewed by kind of the next step here with the Board of Supervisors, should there be an approval of the project, if we receive the funding by the end of June, then there's the confidence we'd be completed Q1 of 2026. Probably towards the, I would like to err on the side of caution and
Did you
say,
actually complete the whole,
yes.
wow, that's fast.
I would like to give ourselves, I'm actually building in, I believe, a little bit of buffer, but I'd be comfortable with probably March 31st of 2026. With a caveat there, storms sometimes obviously can have a factor of that, but our internal process data, that's a comfortable date.
And Laura, none of these streets are scheduled for any sort of repaving during this process.
Not, besides Pelican Boulevard, not.
Well, that's when would that be done?
I don't know.
Just have to make sure that there's a line.
The idea would be
We don't have a
this
date for
time
that
next
yet,
year,
so.
not during the prime season.
Right, it
After
would
Easter.
be, yeah, it'd be after snowbird
So
season.
the lights might already be in when we do this.
Right, that's all I'm trying to make sure suddenly we don't, not looking at, well, we can't pay, we got all these FDL trucks on the street.
I have a question. There was something raised at the meeting about perhaps we need permits from the city for this project, or what else do we need to do?
Yes, so FPL does not recommend fixture locations or specifications from our catalog. As I mentioned, one of our vendors, who this particular fixture is from, they utilize IES, which is Illumination Engineering Society. They're kind of the overall guideline for lighting standards. In addition, there was consideration taken from local Florida Green Book, DOT type standards, also with input from the community as well. So there was some general consensus of that. What was not taken into consideration is if there are specific lighting ordinances, as this community does fall within the city of Fort Myers, if there's any type of permitting that would be required for this project. And that would be beyond, so it might be a limited development order. That would be at the community's discretion to decide if that's if it is something that needs to be done or not.
So you guys wouldn't pull any permits that would be having to be done outside of your,
That would be outside of our scope of work, that's correct. And this would be related to, again, is there a requirement to submit plans and go through a permitting process? That is something still that we'll assist in figuring out with the city, but that was not taken into consideration.
with it?
They're not city streets.
They're not city streets, so Laura, from your
We
perspective?
don't know, it's.
Yeah, they're
very
not Pelican Streets either, they're gateways.
They belong to us, yeah. Chelsea said she doesn't want them in their grave season, but I guess that's.
But they are
she
within the
doesn't want
city,
that.
so it's kind of a gray area,
Right.
it depends on.
So who takes point on that then?
So if we just got a gateway, then I mean, the city would have to approve it.
Okay, we got a lot to do.
What's the next step on that then, Laura? Would you suggest what we do next?
You guys need to let me know if you want to do it or not, so you need to take a vote.
Yeah.
Because I need to know before 4 o'clock so I can get it on the agenda. It'll go to the board next week if you can.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd
Either
like-
way, I'm not saying you have to approve it. Should you
No.
choose to approve it today, I need to know before 4 o'clock so that I can get it on the agenda for next week.
So any other questions for Eric? Any other questions that would be pertinent to a decision right now?
Thank you, nice job.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate everyone's time, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the project.
Okay.
So John.
So John, Barry made the motion. Is there a second? And second. Ed, yeah, Ed.
That was a little faster than you, Marty, sorry. Like, just that much faster.
Okay.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. It's a unanimous decision. Let's push it forward to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's Eric.
If we're so exciting though, don't you want to stay and listen to the rest of it?
I will offer, the board didn't know all that much about this.
Yeah. All right, boardwalk accessibility update. So this is talking about the ADA use of the boardwalk. As was mentioned, that we did apply for a permit modification, which was approved. Now, we have to ask the question of, is there anything that we need to do at this point, or does this go back to the ponds group in conjunction with safety and security to come forward with a proposal?
Can I ask a question? When the walkway got redone initially,
The
right?
the
It
boardwalk?
was narrowed,
Right,
right? And then it was blocked off.
right.
Correct.
And what was the original thinking of all of that? So, and then why would we now
Right.
want to readdress that?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
In the process of redoing the boardwalk, we found out that the permit that was issued for that boardwalk to be in the conservation area there did not permit golf carts to be on it. Although for 20 years there had been golf carts driving across it. So when we went to go get the final inspections and the permit approvals and everything to redo the boardwalk, South Florida said, nope, no golf carts, you have to put bollards up, only handicap, like wheelchairs, those things are allowed in there. So the openings that are there are wide enough to allow those types of vehicles access, but not a golf cart. So that was where that came from. That was actually in our permit criteria, the criteria of the permit for that said no, specifically called out no golf carts. They were forbidden, even though they had been doing it forever.
So we're saying that
It was
a
ori-
wheelchair goes through.
Wheelchairs are fine.
It was originally permitted for pedestrian accessibility, which was for handicap. And so then when it was redone to conform to those, the bollards were put up to restrict it to wheelchair size. But over the more recent years, some of the handicap accessibility laws have changed to include motorized vehicles. Golf carts are now considered a class of mobility device.
Depends on who you ask, but
But
yeah. That one's like,
Well, but when you read the law, it says those, but then they have the ability with those to have other safety issues considered. So you could actually restrict golf carts, even though they are mobility, if it's a safety problem. And I think that's where this whole debate is, the width of the boardwalk is not wide enough for safe passage of a golf cart and a pedestrian.
correct.
You couldn't walk safely by a golf cart coming at you on that. So the compromise suggestion that's been advocated is just to open up the very short part from Sienna into the first circle for golf carts.
But part of that was a parking issue.
Right.
You cannot park that close to the two entrances. There's not property there. We have one designated parking area over a bridge closer to Brocky. That's the only place that you can legally park. The cars park on the preserve that right as they go into the entrance on the Brocky. Yes, they do. They're not supposed to. But it was a parking issue. So as Ed said, you're only going to be able to come in from the Sienna side, and you're only going to be able to come up to the first major circle. And then the continuing through will be blocked off, and the back to the bird watching circle will be blocked off. That's the proposal.
Okay.
But there are things that need to be discussed about this, and one of the major ones to me is garbage. Because we've had problems in the past with people just recently loading up a trash can this is just pedestrians coming in, loading up a trash can, and nobody taking responsibility for the removal of that trash can. And I guess technically it would have been a gateway responsibility, but they didn't know it.
We took
So
the trash
so they
can
took
out.
the trash can out completely.
And from Chelsea, she had said that it is not permissible for us to have a garbage in there. So
Correct.
when we went forward with trying to be helpful,
Right.
it went counter to the.
So then if we were to open this for the mobility, and someone's going to come in and kind of want to sit around those areas to picnic, and use lack of a better word, we need to make sure that we're removing their own trash, because we cannot put a well, just any type of can in there?
Correct.
Okay.
It was only filled with dog poop.
Yeah, primarily was dog poop, bear poop, or hog poop, whatever you have.
There probably need signs that say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a signage concern.
So pack in, pack out.
Pack
You
in.
bring it in, you take it out.
That's right, that's right.
Laura, do you need a motion to continue with this
Just
project?
Doug's saying
another-
it's different Numbers.
Yeah, he's gonna come back with that. I have also heard from a small minority of people that they are very concerned that, you know, they're not gonna be able to back up the golf carts in that 30-foot space.
If you, what, if you have two coming?
I mean, you can see the other end.
You can see the other
It's not
end,
just blind.
but
You'd be an idiot.
it has
Walk
been
there,
stated to
someone's
me
going
There
that,
are no idiots in public.
yeah, that is a concern, that you might have two people coming in at the same time, and there might be,
In at the same time?
well,
One's a-
one
one
in,
exit.
one out.
One's exiting the.
Right, they can't, as you said, Patricia, they can't pass. The other one is, if you give them an inch, they'll want to take a mile.
One thing that was talked about at the HOA meeting this morning was that they are talking about getting stickers for the golf carts that are handicap accessible or approved. So we might have another means of identifying.
But you can't control it.
You can't
You
control
can't
it. I
control this at all.
If we can't have trash cans in the sewer
Right.
area, can they be at the entrances?
It can't be in the conservation area.
No.
No. That's
No.
where it was, at the
Yeah.
entrance to the boardwalk.
Right, because that's still part of the
No, but it was
conservation
inside,
area.
it was on, inside.
Nobody had responsibility for removing the garbage. Unless you're gonna pay more to have gateway people come over there and remove it.
And I
And
was
it
told,
becomes a dog dump.
yeah,
It
it
really
is
does.
not permissible to have garbage a garbage bin in that.
It's-
Conservation area.
And the space between the golf cart path and and the areas where you would put the trash can, that is conservation area.
Depends on the map.
Well,
Well,
It's
generally,
it's a,
Depends on the inspector.
In these situations, what we've been running into, it's better to err on the side of caution.
Is this the second issue that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Not the access by people who are handicapped?
Right.
But now we're talking about
and the handicap
garbage.
can access, they just can roll in a wheelchair, but they can't get close enough. I mean, it's a hall, not that, from where the parking is designated, for them to get from there over to the entrance into the,
okay, so with all of that said, in my mind, we should just kind of wait and have Doug and his group move forward with a
And then
proposal.
you can see there's 4 things here that need to be done
Okay.
before we can either
And
move.
don't recall, Peter Salter is just got a campaign going.
he has researched the law and says you can't do it. So he's been writing FLOWAC and South Water Florida Management, asking for them not to approve.
But they did approve.
Well,
they did approve it.
Peter,
Well,
Well,
again,
they didn't approve it, they approved us to apply to have the
To apply.
restriction removed, so it hasn't been approved yet.
okay, good, clear.
Just clarifying
I thought
that.
we applied for it.
No, we can't, for us to apply, this is what we need to do down here in order for it to get approved. There's all of these things need to be done.
Oh, I thought we had submitted the.
No, we
Yeah.
can
That's what I thought
apply
too.
for a permit modification.
This is where you start to look at your costs going up.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
okay,
Okay,
that's
so-
different
So we
than what I
have not
thought.
applied
Yeah,
yet,
I
we just
thought-
had, before they had just said, nope, we're not even gonna talk about it, so this is a big step.
Yeah, but I mean, we went and had that design, the Tetra Tech or somebody do the design, and I thought they were done submitting the permit.
That's part of, I think that's part of the environmental report, but no, the permit is not approved yet. We're approved to apply to get a modification,
Oh, okay.
which they didn't even want to discuss prior, so.
See, that one,
you know.
that just as Patricia's talking, 3.1 is capable of handling golf cart traffic. Well, is it capable of handling two-way traffic? No.
It doesn't say two-way traffic.
It doesn't say that, but I'm the one over there on the approval board, and I'm looking, well, how are they going back and forth, and they're gonna come back at you.
Well, also is the structure like
Strong.
physically strong enough to handle a golf cart driving on it,
Okay.
which I know when you guys
That's another
did.
mailbox.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I was
No,
under the
we-
same impression. too.
No permit has been applied for, we've just been approved to apply for the permit modification.
Oh, my God.
It's typical government stuff. They just flat out wouldn't even talk about it before, so this is huge.
I mean, are we sure that this is something that our residents are really adamant that we do, given we're talking limited availability at the best,
Yeah.
and access to that limited availability is pretty limited. I don't know, is it something that people are really clamoring for? I don't know where it came from.
Given some people that couldn't get access to their.
Before,
Yeah.
before
Area
the
where they used to gather.
before the pond starts working, or could we go to Tetra Tech or Passarella or somebody and say, what would it take to meet these requirements, and what would the cost,
If
get
you,
a cost estimate to
Yeah,
meet these? Because if it's gonna cost $100,000
That is-
of study to meet these requirements to even submit a permit, to me, that's a, no, we're not gonna do that.
okay, so you're asking me to have Tetra Tech give you a TA to do this and
Just a
gather
quick-
this
Didn't we
information?
already commit some funds to this before?
They did a design of what,
Yeah, but it sounds like that wasn't for the next stage.
Just, I think what you're looking for really, is not them to give you anything really in writing. Laura talks to say, John, what would it cost to do this? And he says, I don't think it's best $75,000. That's what you want.
right,
Right.
Okay.
If-
Is that something that we can get?
I can try.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right, well then, table this one for now,
I move that we table this for now.
okay? You've got a,
How long do you want to table it for?
Next month.
Table it until Doug brings back his report. That's where
I think they meet in June, so you might want to move it to July.
July, yeah, we won't.
Plus, that gives me a little time to
get past it.
yeah,
Okay,
and whenever we can get some sort of handle on what it might cost.
That's what Laura-
That's what I'm saying, that gives me some
Yeah.
time, because I'm kind of like knee deep in budget stuff right now too, so.
Yeah.
I'll have Paul help me.
okay, so the motion is to table this until the July
July
meeting.
meeting.
And
Alright.
that's motion on the table, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tom. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you. And Marty's opposed. All right, so let's table it for now.
I'll have Georgia add it back to your July meeting.
Thank you,
I think we
appreciate it.
need this sooner. I think we need to look at this sooner than July.
Nothing happens fast, that is for sure. All right, we did ask for a letter that says that the fire impact fee credits have expired. So here we've got it. Well, that is a funding source that no longer exists. So thank you for getting that for us. Okay. And then we have our budget discussion.
We have 20 minutes.
Yep. Well, we go along.
There shouldn't be too much on here to change. You guys did most of your talking during your meeting the last time, so.
Laura, first question, why did the administrative services go down so much, operational administrative services go down so much?
This,
Yeah, the labor went down, the salaries went down to like $120,000.
it's probably the way it got dispersed. You guys are,
Is that based on the different assessment methodology?
Yep.
Where we're paying,
a third of half.
yeah,
Basically.
31% of a half rather than allocations?
Correct.
Okay. Okay,
And plus, that's not all, like we talked about too, that's not all of the admin salaries, like not all of my time is in there. A lot of my time is actually going, some is going to Parks and Rec, some is going to
Right.
utilities.
right,
So, and same with Chelsea,
okay.
so. That's why, it's just a
Before we were
difference in
paying a certain
allocation.
just percentage of your time, now it's.
You were before, now you're just sharing it, everybody's sharing
So
it.
let me, so when your time goes to Park and Rec, we will now pay for that time, but it'll be calculated under Park and Rec, so we're.
Under
gonna
Park
pay-
and Rec, so you're paying for a smaller portion of it, because you're not paying the
We're
full,
paying the 21.
yeah, 0.15, yeah. And I only think I have like 2% of my time in there, so it's not much. Most of my, I'm pretty much even between admin and utilities, so.
As you expand Park and Rec, so will be more labor probably needed over in that area.
So right now, we don't have any budget for Park and Rec, right?
There,
It's
It's
not
all
in here
blank.
yet, no, I'm actually, as soon as the board pack is published, so if you wait until by 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, once the board pack is published for next week, there's a couple of things I need to finish tying out, but I'm hoping to have it done by noon tomorrow, which means the board pack will be published by the end of the day, and you'll actually see the Park and Rec impact. Everything will be in there. It won't actually be on this sheet, there's another tab that shows all the assessments, and it's broken down by each of the silos. It shows what you have for administrative, what's park and rec, what's your waterway, what your roadway is, all of that, it's all broken out.
So when can I look at this and make an informed assessment of it?
Tomorrow when the board pack's published.
So I can't do that today?
You can, but this doesn't tell you what you're gonna get assessed. And I can tell you right now, it went down for Pelican,
Well,
so.
these are our budget amounts that we have to clarify. How that filters into the assessment.
It's different.
It's
yeah.
different.
Well, actually, these you don't
But these
have
are-
anything, it's totally
We don't have
given
anything
to
we
you
can
here.
do about it, yeah.
This is the part where you
Okay.
guys have your input.
Safety and security.
So starting with operating expenses actually is
Yeah,
where you guys,
There weren't any changes from our workshop there.
no,
I talked to Jennifer, and we would like to add 23,000 to the safety and security other, I think it's other,
Alright.
or gate.
I'll talk to her,
gatehouse
yeah, I'll get it
repairs.
from her, yeah, but I got it in writing to go with my stuff.
Okay, but we want to, before it goes to the board,
Yeah, I know,
we want to add 23,000. That does two things. It makes safety and security basically flat, but it also gives us a few extra dollars for the gate technology replacement.
so you want to go that in the gate line, the gatehouse repair and
I think
maintenance?
it was gatehouse repairs, they bumped that up to 40, and we just want to add the extra 23 to that.
Okay,
And
Does this include any of the electrical outlet replacements that are needed, the breaker boxes, or for the guardhouse? That was identified that years ago that they all needed to be replaced.
I thought,
I don't know,
they
all I
didn't-
know is Chelsea went with the guys that found a bunch of stuff that needed to be done to the gatehouse, and they did a bunch of repairs this year. I don't know that there was anything to the electrical, but I know they did some work on the door and other things. There was $20,000 or $30,000 worth of repairs. that
They rewired the whole electrical panel and everything in there too, I think. If they didn't, they're
They
going
did do
to
that.
need to be
I don't know if
redone.
they
So
did.
you're talking about just bumping that 40 under the gatehouse repairs to
To go
63?
to 63. Right. And capital outlay for roads, that's 400,000, but we want 100,000 of that to be paid for to come from our capital reserves.
No, I see, that's right, I'm not this year you want to do that?
Yeah, then that's for the 26 budget.
Yeah, so you're squeezing down the assessment in the year that.
No. The road resurfacing program, they're looking at spending $300,000 a year. Some years it will be a little more, some years will be a little less. So this year we had 300,000 in there for road repairs. We could only do the two, so it was a little less. We had some carryover. Next year, we thought we could do Pelican for 300. Daniel thought it was going to take more and suggested 400. So we want to keep it, the assessment level, based on the program. We want to do 100,000 from capital reserves. That will keep the assessment for the roads level. And then next year, the 27 budget, we'll only do 200,000 of roads and put 100,000 back into capital reserves.
And the
We're going
ponds
to do the
is
same thing,
something
we're going to do the same thing on ponds. But I want to make sure that it gets in here that the 100,000 coming from capital reserves goes against the safety and security, because they get allocated differently under the new methodology.
Yep.
The other thing is the methodology, not all, you've got all this stuff in the road silo.
It's not all going on the roads.
The gatehouse,
Anything gatehouse related and the security services I'll add in to see you guys, so.
yeah, the contract services,
Yep.
utilities for the
Yep, the police
gatehouse.
patrol, utilities for gatehouse.
Gatehouse repairs.
Street sweeping,
Everything is roads.
gatehouse repairs,
Street sweeping should go to roads.
yep.
Why is holiday lighting and decor in admin versus roads?
For the safety and security.
Oh, landscape, sorry, I jumped ahead.
The question on the assessment methodology, he put the police patrols in our admin, but I saw on Gateway's budget last time that they were going to roads. I think we just need to be consistent. If the sheriffs go to
It's
roads.
admin on both. This is a week old, so, yeah.
So,
But we don't,
Yes, I'm telling you, it's an admin.
so both those first two are in
and
admin?
I'm from Missouri. I can show you.
You will be able to see it tomorrow when the thing is
I
published,
know when
because
they
there's
vote on
actually,
it, right? They
there's
vote on it
actually a
tomorrow, right?
silos
They vote on
tab.
it tomorrow?
Next week.
There's actually a silos tab that shows all of these items, and you can see exactly what silo they went into.
Do they vote on the high water tomorrow
No,
or next week?
no,
2 weeks?
yeah.
Or 2
No, not
meetings?
till June 5th.
Okay.
So this thing is gonna change probably 15 times between even when I publish it tomorrow and it goes to the board in
So
June.
then how can we approve it? That's my question.
Well-
How do we approve a budget that's
This is our last shot at it.
This is your high water mark. Generally, the board does not touch the Pelican budget. So whatever you guys say you want in your budget, that's, the board goes, okay, unless there's something that's really weird. And normally I say, no, this is why they did that, and they say, okay. So,
That's just the part we control.
correct.
So if
Okay.
this park and recs and the administrative building and all that stuff, the board of supervisors will determine how much our taxes will go up or
Okay, so
down.
these numbers are the max numbers that
For
Correct.
amounts we control.
I
Yes.
understand that.
And then we set we call it the high water mark in June, so it's best to put in more if you're
And
going
then
for
you're
June, and then we
comfortable
can
with
pare
all
it
the
down by
things
the time it gets to August when the final budget is actually adopted.
Okay, got
And
it.
that's normally what we do is, because if you, once they approve the budget in June, you can't add anything to it.
Got it.
You can leave it the same, you can take it down, but you can't add to it.
You
So
can
it's
move
better to
things
put
around,
everything
you
in.
just can't change the
So that's
total
what she's
assessment.
saying, she's
Yeah.
gonna move things around.
Well, no, I won't touch your guys' budget unless you ask me to. I'm just saying the budget as a whole is gonna change before it actually gets to June, so. Not
Not our
this.
portion.
No, you guys tell me what numbers to plug into your budget for
Maybe the
this,
next
these
one.
categories. So so I have it right, you have 23,000, add that to Gatehouse R&M, and then, this is staying at 400,000, but in the bottom part, I'm gonna use $100,000 to offset that from capital reserve.
So the net compared 25 to 26 will be very, very close.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, pretty much right on the nose.
Right.
All right, moving on to landscape then. Now, this is that inside the gate, outside the gate thing, that's why we've got the reduction.
Yes,
The 388,000 for landscape contract services is the revised budget for inside the gate with landscaping for the tree line right away moving over to the gateway assessment area.
Still in roads.
So, Ed, can I, you've referenced in other conversations, so when and if the Stony Brook Road transfer takes place, when will that impact?
This should impact this budget. It will occur before this budget gets adopted.
Okay, and that impacts us favorably? We don't know?
We don't know, with no Stony Brook roads, under the assessment methodology, they set the baseline, depending on what goes to roads versus admin, either Gateway or Pelican will set the new baseline. And then things will just, my gut tells me it will be favorable to us.
your gut is correct.
So then,
But again, it kind of gets into which one of these line items, which silo they go into.
which brings up the preemptive question that I had. Why is lighting for the roadways in admin?
Because the holiday lighting and decorations, we did the same thing on the gateway side. That's for the monuments, the palm trees, all this kind of
Right,
thing.
I mean, I noticed.
So that just gets charged to you because it's inside your community, so Pelican pays just
It's
for
like a
that.
gatehouse and
And it's the same on this side, the lights for Gateway proper are being shared just by Gateway. So we did separate those things.
And
And then the extra part that we had for lights for, when we do our holiday event over here, because they put extra lights in Sherman Soccer Field and we have a tree and all that, we pulled those out as well, so because that's not a general expense.
I would argue that the monuments and signs probably don't belong in roads, but they're in roads on both sides, so it's probably a good point. And just for your education on it, on the methodology, whether it's in roads or admin, doesn't make very much difference for, under the methodology, because Pelican is age restricted. Every door is treated as one, the same, where in other areas where they're not age restricted, single-family residences and condos and apartments all have different trip generations. So
Which are double what you guys have.
it has, whether it's
So there was
roads
some
or
safety
admin, has a bigger
guardrails.
effect over on Gateway. For Pelican,
It didn't really matter.
it doesn't matter much.
Okay.
The golf course has a little impact because it creates a few more trip generations than admins, but it's minor in the big scheme of things.
All right. Anything then changing on landscape?
No.
So they-
They're basically keeping theirs flat except for the net reduction due to the movement of the tree line right away over.
Okay. All right, then moving on to the waterway management.
It's a part of it, so we don't see the numbers.
The,
I think the only thing here is the
300 is coming from reserves.
yep, I have that
PPAC,
too.
the
Yeah,
capital
I already have
So then
that.
that's gonna be very close to nominal.
Right.
Same thing we said in the first year.
And then next year, he won't do it, he'll contribute
He'll put it
300
down
to
here,
the
but I'll just
reserves.
move this line
Same
instead on
approach.
here. So, yep, I have that in my notes already.
Okay, so we essentially are fairly flat,
Ours,
Our portion,
our portion,
Our
yes.
our
Okay.
portion.
which you should.
Yep,
And I've actually been able to reduce some of the things on the administrative side as well. I took a really hard look at stuff this year to make sure that we aren't over budgeting for stuff that we consistently haven't been spending on, so that it affects everybody as a whole, so. Because I've been like down in the weeds, inside the weeds, and the little pickers in the weeds on this one this year, so, I'm really into it, much more than normal.
Laura, can you go down to the admin building?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
And just so you know, this doesn't reflect that, but this number here will be carried over here and offset down here, so.
Okay, the 265,480 was the estimate when we did the budget last year. And we were going to use carry forward that we were clawing back from landscape to cover that, plus the 200,000 that shortage that we had with calculation
Mixed
error for the
calculation.
commercial.
Yeah.
None of that 265,480 wasn't assessed in the 25 budget. The question is, what's the number for the admin building that we're going to have to cover? And when they, I don't know if you guys have come up with that, Laura, when they approved the contracts. They had a cost of 6.6 million for the admin building. And our share at the time was us paying 14%, and that it was 924,000. The bond was going to cover 506,000 and change, and we were going to have to come up with another 150 or so thousand. If you use
On
it
top of the 260.
on top of this. If you use the new allocations where enterprise gets 50%.
Nope, we have to use the old because that's how the bonds were approved, so you get 14%. There's no change, we have to use the methodology for the bonds that was used for the bonds.
Even for the overage?
Correct.
Okay. So we still, so that should be 924, minus 506 is what we should have to come up with in 26.
I'll verify that, I haven't known to check it. The O and M part, the new methodology applies to, but the construction, because those are covered under the bonds and you're responsible for 14%, that doesn't change.
Okay. I didn't know whether or not to.
Nope, the methodology only
I
applies
know,
to everything
I know
going forward.
our bond amount was set whether or not.
Yep, yep.
But you're still looking at 400,000 total, round figure.
I'll verify that.
924 minus 406.
420 or something.
Four, yeah,
So that's like another 160,000.
plus the 260 you had.
No, with, yeah, isn't it like another 160?
518,000.
So I think that
I
belongs in the
kind of
budget.
do, yeah.
Without paying off the
I can
budget.
go until,
I don't wanna-
no, that was me, because I thought everybody was gone. I can stay till about 4:15, but I do have to be somewhere today.
Okay,
so.
so let's move along here.
I think that number belongs in the budget and not reflective of anything coming out of reserve at this point.
Well, you've already accounted for it in the 25 budget, so it's
No.
gonna carry forward.
Not
We will
gonna
carry.
I don't agree with that method of
We
accounting.
didn't
I just don't
assess
agree
for
with
it.
that method of
Right.
accounting. No money was spent. I still got the $10 in my pocket.
So I'm unclear what you want me to do,
518,000
To the budget.
in the budget.
and you don't want it offset down here?
No.
No.
At this point, and we may do that later after we start.
For the
this
high
is
water,
the high
for the high
water.
water.
Okay,
It sounds
Got
like,
it. I will verify the amount and plug that in.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on that? All right, do we want to talk about your agenda item details prior to asking for the budget to be approved, or?
They're separate.
Okay, so
They're separate.
you don't need to do that.
Well,
So,
they're this year's. But
okay. Is there then a motion?
I move that we accept the budget as we discussed.
So if it's okay, I can word it, because that way I cover everything that I took out that I need to change on it.
Okay.
So
What she said.
taking the budget that's in the PPAC agenda packet for today, I have 3 changes that I need to make. First is to add $23,000 under safety and security to the gatehouse R&M. And then to take $100,000 from capital reserves to offset the $400,000 of roads for safety and security. And then to verify what the actual total expected overage of the admin building cost is going to be, put that on that line and do not offset it with reserves for purposes of the high water mark.
And offset 300,000 of the
Oh, I
ponds.
did that already. That's already in
That's in
there.
there.
That's already in the
Okay.
budget. So these are things that are not on there that I need to do.
Okay. Second.
Okay, second by Ed, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'll bring your recommendations to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for walking us through this. Okay, so we've got a couple more minutes. Ed, do you want to take us through the Ed Hedges May 8th agenda item details?
Well, we paid off the bond, and I don't know if we're going to have to do a budget amendment so we don't get a nasty grant from the auditor like we did this year where we spent money that we didn't have in the budget. But I've got the numbers here. There was estimated costs, but on the financials, you know, the out was 962,875, and the in March was 225, but April's that was just posted, it was 231,000, which was awful close to the 231,910 that we would get from all the assessments if we collect everything. So I guess we need to have them move 731,000, I believe, from our capital reserve, reduce our capital reserves by $731,000.
Because that's what we asked them to do when we
Right.
approved it.
Yeah, but they wanted to wait until they knew what all the charges and costs and
Got it,
everything were
okay.
gonna be.
because it had supported that, but not a specific number, because that number may not be perfect there. That's all I'm
Well,
You want to balance it out. Right, is that what I'm hearing you, we need to have that taken out of the capital fund, whatever the final number is.
Well, we're within $15 or $20, so to me, if you do 730, reduce to 731,000,
You're good enough, okay.
it takes it out of the capital and,
All right, if you're comfortable, all right.
yeah. I
So
mean,
where are you
right now, it's
going?
all coming out of our unassigned, so whether it's off $10 or $15,
Right,
it's still coming out of our,
And where is it going to?
Pay off the bond.
You're paying off the bond.
We already paid off the bond.
Where'd you get the money from?
Took it out of your bank account, out of your money market account.
But he's trying to reflect it on the financial statement.
We had asked that it be taken out of reserves.
out of
Okay.
capital reserves.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
I'm not
And
paying.
it just came out of unassigned.
Right.
The other,
Balance sheet should have come out of payments.
the other thing, when we did the 25 budget, we were going to use 209, claw back the 24 carry forwards from landscape and 50,000 from ponds to balance our budget. And with the issues with ponds being over budget and other things, I don't think we should touch there, so I would recommend or move that we reduce the landscape carry forward reserves by 294,265, so that they still have their 25 carryover.
So basically, they're just saying, take off 24 carryover.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what we had
talked about.
moved to do back when we did the budget, but it never,
It wasn't reflected.
wasn't ever reflected.
So that makes sense to me.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's been done, it just isn't reflected. I'm sorry.
Right, they normally don't make the entries until the end of the fiscal year, but I can have to do them early. So, and we're in the fiscal year that was supposed to happen, so it's not like it didn't get done, it just hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. And yet we appreciate that because it makes it clear for us.
Yeah, otherwise you just
Yeah.
got to catch up with these things.
I guess more because they don't want to like take it out and then put it back, and so that's why they just do it all at the end.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And I get that, but these were
It's fine.
kind of one-time transfers. And
Well,
the reason, and part of the confusion is on number 3 here with the ponds budget. We did, this is where I agree where we probably shouldn't have moved to increase the budget $100,000 based on what they did, because it was supposed to come out of their reserves. They increased the budget, but never reduced the reserves. So that's why ponds has a 98,000 carry forward. They started the year with 236,000 of reserves with a budget of 804. They spent a little over $1 million and went over budget, over their original budget, 239,000, which, so that 100,000 increase in their budget basically came from our undesignated reserves. So to me, there's several options. To me, at this point, with where we're, ponds was going to need an extra 130 or 100 some this year. So at this point, I'm like, let's just leave it where it's at. Leave the 97 in their carry forward, and because they'll use it this year, they won't have to do some other adjustment. So I think if we do those 2 adjustments, basically reduce the capital reserves to reflect the bond payoff, and reduce the landscaping for their 24 carryover, we'll then have all of our reserves straightened out. And I know it'll probably take a couple months for that to show up.
I should be able to have it in by the per-base financials.
All right. So what do we need, move to support Ed's recommendations 1 and 2?
I would move that we reduce the capital reserves by 731,000, and we reduced
31 or 37?
37,000.
So I gave
731,000.
So 731.
That's different.
rather than the 737.
Okay, I have two things. I have that reduce the capital reserve, well, different number now,
Yeah.
731, and then reduce the landscape carry forward by $294,265.
Right.
And leave ponds alone.
Leave ponds
Yep.
alone.
That's exactly what I wrote, leave ponds alone.
Clue Gina. Okay, so that's the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second?
I have a question.
Yes.
You know, given that I can't talk to anybody except for in this forum, it's really important for me to understand what was the rationale for paying off the bond?
In 2013, a bond was refinanced. There was original 2003 bond that basically paid for the construction of most of the stuff in Old Pelican. All the ponds, the roads, the monuments, the fire station, and everything. In 2013, when they basically refinanced what was left on that and assessed Old Pelican, that's everybody off, all the developments off of Pelican Boulevard for that bond. And they've been paying an additional assessment on it since 2013. As New Pelican got built, they weren't paying anything for those assets. And we couldn't pay the bond off until 2023. There was a restriction that for the first 10 years you couldn't pay it off. So in 2024, we looked at it and it was down to about $1 million. So we said, hey, everybody in Pelican, New Pelican, we drive on Pelican Boulevard. You know, we drive by the monuments, we use all those roadways. So we should just use the capital reserves to pay off that bond, and it unencumbers all those assets. And because until, you know, it's like nothing can really be done with a lot of those assets. There was an interest to even sell the parcels up at Tree Line and Colonial. They couldn't do anything because they were encumbered by the bond. It's just, you know, so.
It frees up
getting that
opportunity.
Clean,
Yeah.
allows future opportunities to occur.
That's fine. Yeah. Very good summary of that too. Okay, so we have a motion as stated, and we had a second by Marty.
Correct.
Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous approval.
Don't fall out of your chair.
I wasn't going to say anything. Okay.
I would like to mention, not only by, you know, again, grateful for this opportunity, but I would like to consider how to increase the communications of what PPAC does and all the subcommittees do, and, you know, really set the record straight between PPAC, GSCDD, and everything. And I had a brief conversation with Faye Formoso, who said, yeah, we're happy to use our vehicle for getting information out. But that was a pretty general comment. I need to delve a little bit further into how we would be able to get some really current information out to our community. They need to understand that we're not the bad guys. We are looking out for the assets in the community, and by keeping them in shape and improving them, it improves the quality of life, it improves the value of our homes. We are not the bad guys. So I'll keep you informed, and I'd like to know, how would you like me to present to you, or should I just put together a plan, program?
I would like a communication plan that you could tag off on a few things that you think would be beneficial. Also, maybe include in there that once the taxation notifications go out, it might be beneficial to have a
Town
hall or something like that where we can.
I'd be happy to go and talk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
What do you think about our?
We did have there was an agreement at one time that I think Gateway has like a half-page form that doesn't change, but at one point that was going to be where every month, one of the subcommittees would have,
Yeah.
tell them
Good
what's
place.
going on. So
Good place for it.
every 3 months, each of the different committees would have
Yeah.
something, and that, that might be a good way of, maybe tag with the communications.
They stopped
committee.
printing it, I stopped reading it.
Well, it's still there
Don't read it
online,
anymore.
it's electronic, but that page still exists, and we should take advantage of it. We should take advantage of the website better. We have some opportunities for sure.
It's just like with the recycling task force, just say, I summarize that task force meeting every time and give it to Adriana and it goes out. I'm assuming what Faye is saying, that if we wrote a summary of PPAC meetings, decisions made, things are going on, and you gave them through agreement with PPCA and say Adriana to push it out, she'll put the appropriate gateway notice. I don't think that would be a problem.
Right, well, it's more than just what happens at our meetings, it's just a clearer understanding. And we need volunteers, and we need people to understand the whole concept.
I've passed out our flyers and our
Yeah,
refrigerator magnets.
the flyers are full of
We have lots,
information.
so please
Yeah.
don't take my
There's a,
word. We
there's a
still have
whole
lots.
box of those flyers sitting over there in the office.
Okay. Anything else? We will have.
Is he still around? Is he-
Yeah.
You guys want to meet Paul? Have you met Paul? He's our new public works director. I told him I would just have him pop in and at least say hi.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're not even, I met him at
I think he's still online.
Yeah. And then,
the Board of Supervisors meeting.
what about for the June meeting? I am
I'm
going
not
to be.
here.
Okay, and you're not going
And
to
I
be
have no
calling in.
access.
So who is not going to be here?
I'm not, and I have no access.
All right.
What's the date?
And I will be calling in, but not
June
in.
something, 12th,
Yeah, Karen, take it.
second Thursday, 12th?
12th, it is the 12th. I will be here back from vacation.
You'll be rested.
I will be here, is it not going to be in person?
No,
it
we
has
would
to be
have
in
to have
person.
4 in person.
Yep.
So we have 3, and John, and I
think
don't
I'll be
know,
here.
And we don't know about Alan.
we don't know about him.
So who's not going to be here?
Me.
I don't know.
Peggy,
I'm going to
Tom,
be out online.
John maybe.
But Peggy's calling in.
Yeah, I'm calling him.
But that doesn't count for quorum.
It doesn't.
No, it has to be a physical forum. So Marty, you'll be
I don't think
here.
they'll be here.
I will be
They'll
here.
on
Right.
Picking up the grandkids.
There you go. So that's John. So Alan's going to be the critical
So
one.
you're not going to be here?
I don't think they'll be here. I think I would like to, I think I can call it, but not the list.
So we need to find out from
Yeah.
Alan.
I won't be here in June, if that matters.
Oh, you won't be here?
Will not be here.
So
in
you guys
June.
won't have,
Okay, well, then that's
you won't
it.
have quorum.
Oh,
I'm here in July, I won't be here. I'm here
July,
in June.
June you will be.
I'm not going to be here for sure in July.
Okay, so June. So it just depends on Alan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then again, I'm out until early September, so.
So June, July, August.
I'm just up for June.
Okay, yeah, well, can you have Georgia reach out to
Yep.
Alan? Thank you. Hi, Paul. How are
Yes.
you?
Good afternoon, committee members. For the record, my name is Paul Flores. I have the honor of serving as your new Public Works Director for Gateway Services CDD. What I bring to the table is about 24 years of public sector experience in capital improvements, day-to-day operations. How do we best serve our community? So I'm looking forward to working with all of you and all the residents of Gateway.
Pleasure to meet you, Paul.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I appreciate the opportunity and I'm looking forward, and I'm excited to be a part of the team here.
He'll be coming to the subcommittee meeting just like Daniel used to, so now you'll have Paul.
Yep, you'll be the,
Perfect, thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Contact
all right.
information.
Do I have a,
Make a motion to adjourn.
motion to approve?
Almost be.
Marty made the motion,
I'll second
Tom
it.
seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned.
Let me run out of here with that.